Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Such a pleasure to see you all this evening for our 23rd annual scholarship recognition event. 23. It's such a delight to be amongst all of you tonight. I was walking over from the office and thinking about this event, because this is always such a wonderful one of the several we hold this time of year, and thinking about, why is it? I mean, everybody in this room has a particular why, if you will, of being in medicine, of course, but also being part of this community, the Hopkins community. And I thought, I'm going to how varied it is, but I'm going to guess it's not particularly varied, because like my experience when I came here I have to do the math quick here, 33 years ago as a resident, I came, and then I've certainly stayed. Really, one reason, I'm going to just guess it's everybody else's, which is the people. I mean, the education here that I received as a physician, in the laboratory, other aspects of the career I've had the opportunity to lead here, has really coordinated around one thing, which is the outstanding people who are dedicated to the social contract we have with this community and with the world to deliver on the promise of medicine. That's easy to say. It is very hard to deliver on, but all of the people, I know you feel the same way here, strive for that every single day. So it's just a real pleasure to be here. I know our medical students coming here is and should be felt as a life-changing event, because you get to then train in that same environment as you develop your careers as leaders in medicine, in science, and in education. So I'm certainly deeply humbled to be standing amongst all of our generous donors who have made this evening and the 22 prior to it possible. And I just want to be unequivocally clear that without all of you, these students aren't necessarily sitting here. They could choose to go somewhere else. They want to be at Hopkins for all the reasons I've just articulated, but with your help, with your vision, and meaning, by definition, you believe in the future, otherwise you wouldn't be investing in young students. And so I laud you for that. I highly respect you for that, and I'm really humbled that you continue to do that for us. Our graduates are extraordinary, of course, highest caliber students. And when you pair that with what you have all done as generous donors, that then inspired the Bloomberg Philanthropies to do something very amazing, which is to provide gifts to the School of Medicine and other portions of the university to help support graduate education. And so we can now say quite proudly that 2/3 of our medical students come to Johns Hopkins School of Medicine tuition free. 2/3. That's a remarkable statement. And it would not have happened. I just want to be very clear about this. That would not have happened without all of you, for many years, for some of you, investing in this School of Medicine, in our students. While I would love to be able to stand here and tell you that Bloomberg Philanthropies gift could cover all tuition and we don't ever need any more gifts, that's just not how that was structured. It was not all the dollars that are necessary to do this forever. So that's why your gifts continue to be extremely important and will continue to be going forward, because they go right to the students that need it. And remember, when we set this up, and Roy Ziegelstein, I want to really call out tonight, because Roy helped to construct the gift from the Bloomberg Philanthropies and help us think through such that we landed as the most need-affirming School of Medicine in the United States. And your gifts are part of that need-affirming process. So Roy, thank you for that very, very much. And this evening, we have the distinct honor, or certainly I do, to also recognize a particular set of our donors, and that is Peter and Gail Baeff. Their connection, and Peter's in particular, to Hopkins runs quite deep. A very proud alum of the, as he says, the mighty class of 1974, which was true, by the way. It's a pretty spectacular class. He's certainly that. He's had a distinguished career in hematology and oncology, caring for thousands and thousands of patients, raising a beautiful family. 2 of his grandchildren right here happen to be here, Bert and George, actually. Hello, gentlemen. Nice to see you. But more than that, he's done all of these things and has kept his eye on the proverbial prize of what is Hopkins, the education. Why Johns Hopkins is so special. He's kept his vision on that. He's contributed, he and Gail, to it. I'll say just a bit more about that in a minute. And he's given more of his time. And he happens to have been a person who's been very important in continuing to support and to corral and to cajole our alumni association to reach deeper and to do better. To be more engaged, and certainly serving as the president for the last few years, he's done exactly that. So Peter, on behalf of the School of Medicine for all of those things, thank you very much. So he and Gail have formed really 2 scholarships, the Gail and Peter Byeff MD Scholarship, and the David Byeff and Stephen Byeff Scholarship. And Peter and Gail have provided these transformational gifts to a number of students over the years. And this particular year, I have the great privilege of, I know we all know all of the medical students are great, but I am told Shirley Lynn and Elena Way are particularly outstanding medical students. Who I think represent all those things I was saying at the top. You know, a dedication to the people that we serve, hardworking, super intelligent, they told me that, and really understand the generosity that has been provided to them to be here tonight as Byeff Scholarship holders. So I'm going to ask Shirley and Elena to come up, please.
Hi everyone, thanks for being here today. My name is Shirley Lynn and I am a 4th-year medical student. As I near the end of my medical school journey, I've been able to reflect on my experiences here. I feel so fortunate to have been able to study medicine here, not only for the unmatched quality of education, but also for the support and mentorship I've received over these past years. Growing up low income in the islands of Hawaii and being the first generation in my family to attend college, truthfully, I didn't think I'd make it this far. But as I stand in front of you all, I truly feel so fortunate to have been a recipient of the Byeff's generosity and had the opportunity to change the course of my life. My journey at Hopkins was a bit unconventional. After my 3rd year of medical school, I took a leave of absence to pursue a master's of biomedical engineering here. And it was in that year I discovered my passion for medical innovation in wound healing. After receiving my master's in engineering, I returned to finish my 4th year of medical school with a more defined sense of the impact I'd like to make in clinical medicine and research. Looking ahead, I'm ecstatic to say that I'll be continuing my training here at Hopkins through the dermatology residency program. I can't wait to keep growing and building within the Hopkins community. Beyond residency, my eventual goal is to return to my home in Hawaii and bring with me the clinical training and the skills I've developed here to serve vulnerable communities in the islands. I'd like to end my speech by expressing my sincere gratitude to the Byeffs, as their generosity has allowed me to explore my passions, find a community here, and grow into my role as a clinician. The Byeffs truly embody what it means to be giving, having spent their careers teaching and caring for others while also continuing to open doors for rising generations of physicians. Their impact, not only in my life, but in the lives of other student recipients, has been profound. I plan to carry forward their gift and legacy through my clinical work here at Hopkins. Thank you again, and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Hi, everyone. My name is Elena Way, and I'm a third-year medical student in the class of 2026. I'll start by saying that I'm so incredibly grateful for your support as it's shaped my medical school experience, and in turn has shaped the trajectory of my career. The financial support offered to me by this scholarship has allowed me the flexibility to pursue what I really want to do and what I want to explore. It's offered me experiences that I wouldn't otherwise have had. The summer after my first year, I pursued global health research in Bogota, Colombia, where I worked with a hospital conducting research on telehealth visits in rural areas of the country and in prisons. These are places that would not otherwise have had access to dermatology care. Through this experience, it cemented an interest in dermatology and community health work. The financial support offered by this scholarship also allowed me to pursue a research year between my third and fourth years of medical school to be able to further this interest and my work. I'm now currently in my clinical rotations. I'm so excited to learn so much from amazing people in every single department, in every corner of the hospital, from my fellow classmates, and from the patients here at Johns Hopkins. I've had invaluable experiences to learn from and to guide me as I grow as a future physician. However, in addition to supporting the clinical coursework, your support also means that I'm able to spend time in community engagements. One such experience is with the Asylee Women Enterprise, where I work with a woman who immigrated from Honduras, who has colon cancer, and I work with her through many issues that it comes with, such as anxiety and depression, losing her hair, what she considered a marker to be her beauty, especially in front of her two young girls. Even small things, such as how to take her daily cup of cafecito, her little coffee cup that has sugar in it, that would spike her blood level with her chemotherapy. As she was going through this fight for her life, I was able to develop a meaningful relationship, and I experienced medicine in a way that I never have before. I also wanted to bring up something that I noticed in the pamphlet we all have. I had written in my thank you letter to the Bayefs that attending medical school with financial support is a complete realization of the hard work and sacrifice, and that for me and my family as immigrants from China, this is the American dream. And I think I can speak for myself and represent so many of my classmates that your impact has truly changed the course of our lives. And so for that, sincerely, thank you from the bottom of our hearts.
Shirley and Elena, thank you very much. You can see that their stories, while unique to them, I don't think are particularly unique in the broad sense of the needs of many of our students. And coming from them, showing that two average medical students here at Hopkins are, you know, in the 1/10 of 1% of medical students everywhere else. You're outstandingly good, and you are such great representatives of your classes and of this School of Medicine. Thank you guys for that. And as noted, I think it shows the power of giving and vision. And Gail and Peter, thank you for that vision. Thank you for your dedication and for all you've done, both with these gifts and through your other work for Johns Hopkins. And it's a real pleasure for me to introduce Dr. Peter Bayeff and have him share a few words with us. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. First, I'd like to say how overwhelmed and grateful my family and I are to be recognized at this reception. I've been asked to speak about my love for the School of Medicine, and it began before I started classes here. I vividly remember coming down to Baltimore in November of my senior year at Penn and entering the admissions office, where the administrative assistant greeted me and said, "Hello, Mr. Baeff." She recognized me from my photo. She didn't need to know who I was. She made me feel right at home right from the very start of my interview process. It was a full-day program. The admissions office had arranged for me to have lunch with Dr. Jerome Frank, who was a world-famous psychiatrist. I had been a psychology major at Penn and was interested in the biologic aspects of psychology and neurophysiology. Dr. Frank was the author of 2 major books, Sanity and Survival and Persuasion and Healing. I had a great conversation with him, and I couldn't believe that this man would spend an hour out of his busy day to have lunch with an applicant. I then had a tour of the campus given by a medical student and had an interview with Dr. Saul Brusilo and another faculty member. The day was as if Hopkins was selling itself to me rather than the other way around, and it made me feel completely at home. I was so impressed, and on the train back to Philadelphia, I made a vow to myself that if I were lucky enough to be accepted, I would definitely attend Johns Hopkins. When I was accepted, I received a scholarship. When I started at the University of Pennsylvania in 1966, tuition room and board were $1,770, easy to remember in Philadelphia at the number 1770. By 1970, it had grown to $3,440, which doesn't seem like very much now, but doubling in 4 years is a very large change. Can you imagine if your tuition room and board doubled in the next 4 years? At Hopkins, the fees were similar. When I finished my education, my total indebtedness was about $12,000, which doesn't seem like much now, but corrected for inflation would be about $77,300. I was extremely grateful for the scholarships I received and vowed to myself that if I ever was in a position to pay it back, I would. My fond memories of the School of Medicine were brought into focus for me when a group of medical students at one of our events said to me, "Dr. Baeff, did you know any of the people that our colleges are named for?" I had a little laugh and said that indeed I had known 3 of them personally. I vividly remember Vivian Thomas, who came to Baltimore with Dr. Blaylock as his laboratory assistant from Vanderbilt in Nashville. As a black man, he was not allowed to enter the hospital through the main entrance, but had to come in through the side door. He was not allowed to wear a white coat in the hospital, only in the lab or operating room. He perfected the Blaylock-Taussig procedure by operating on dogs. He taught me dog surgery and was a very kind and considerate gentleman who would come to the tables where we were operating on dogs and give us advice and help. There was never a hint of any bitterness for the way he had been treated because of his color. There's actually a movie that many of you may know called Something the Lord Made, and I would really recommend, if you haven't seen it, to see that. He was a tremendous gentleman and was very influential in developing that procedure. I remember him smoking the pipe while we were operating on dogs. He was very kind. There was a reception given for Dr. Blaylock to honor him, and his residents wanted to invite Vivian Thomas, and the story was that Blaylock said no because he was black, and his residents supposedly got him in as a bartender. Dr. Nathans taught me microbiology. I vividly remember sitting in the classroom early in the mornings listening to him and Dr. Hamilton Smith talk about DNA ligases, which were the area of their current research and was in none of our texts. I thought it was very interesting, but for the life of me, I really couldn't understand why we were studying this. 8 years later, when I was a hematology-oncology fellow at Columbia Presbyterian, I was in my apartment in New York City watching the NBC Nightly News with Huntley and Brinkley, when all of a sudden the reporter said, "And today the Nobel Prize in Medicine was awarded to Drs. Daniel Nathans and Hamilton Smith for their pioneering work on DNA ligases." By then, of course, I had understood the importance of their pioneering research. Dr. Helen Taussig taught me pediatric cardiology. By the time I met her, she was quite elderly and frail, but still very interested in teaching and interacting with medical students, which I think really characterizes the faculty here at Hopkins. And I cannot forget attending her classes. It's a very famous photographic portrait. This is a picture of that portrait of her taken by the Canadian photographer Karsh that you can see here at Hopkins. It really captures the essence of Dr. Towson, the quintessential clinician scientist, and portrays her with her gnarled hands lovingly holding an infant and listening to the baby's heart. And it's a moving tribute to her. And it's still here at Hopkins, and I encourage anyone who hasn't seen it to just go take a look at it. I did not know Dr. Sabin, who was a member of the first medical school class at Hopkins and was actually a classmate of Dorothy Reed and Gertrude Stein. Dr. Reed discovered the Reed-Sternberg cell that's involved in the causation of Hodgkin lymphoma. Gertrude Stein left Hopkins in her 4th year of medical school, not having graduated, and went on to bigger and better things in Europe, where she befriended Ernest Hemingway, F. Scott Fitzgerald, and Pablo Picasso, among others. I think she was actually a godmother to one of Hemingway's children. Dr. Sabin was the first woman full professor at the School of Medicine and did pioneering studies of the lymphatic system. She and Dorothy Reed were given the honor of being awarded fellowships to study 1 year with Sir William Osler, which was a tremendous honor. Whenever I meet medical students, and this is a picture of the first year class at Hopkins in 1893, and on the right is a picture of Gertrude Stein. It's not doctorate, unless that was an honorary doctorate, but that's a Pablo Picasso painting of Gertrude Stein. Whenever I meet medical students, I'm asked about the difference between Hopkins when I was here many years ago and the Hopkins of today. The campus is hardly recognizable, and medical students now often attend class virtually during the basic science years rather than in person. One thing that has never changed is the quality and the character of the medical students and faculty at Hopkins. You're among the best and brightest people that I've ever had the privilege of knowing and working with, and will accomplish great things in your careers. And I would just echo what Dr. DeWeese said about investing in the future. I think that's what Gail and I do with the scholarships. We really believe that Hopkins has changed the world and will continue to change the world for the better. Finally, I'd like to acknowledge my family, without whose support it would not have been possible to realize these 2 scholarships. My lovely wife, Gail, is here with me tonight. Her only regret is she is the only immediate family member that does not have at least 1 degree from Johns Hopkins. She was recently made an honorary member of the Johns Hopkins Medicine Alumni Association to recognize her interest and contributions to the Johns Hopkins School of Medicine. My older son, David, and his wife, Jill, as well as our grandsons, Bert and George, are here tonight. And unfortunately, my younger son, Stephen, and his wife, Kelsey, and 2 sons could not be here due to a prior commitment. Thank you for your attention, and please continue to enjoy the rest of the evening.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Roy Ziegelstein, and I'm the Vice Dean for Education, and it's really a pleasure to be the last speaker before dinner. So basically what I'm saying is I'm between you and dinner. I want to first very briefly talk about my own story, very briefly, because many of you have heard it before at this scholarship event. I am first generation and come from a limited income background. My father was an immigrant from Germany. We had very, very little money, and I went to college on a full tuition scholarship. Other than letting you know that, because I think it emphasizes the appreciation, personal appreciation that I have for all of you as scholarship donors. I also want to tell you a story that I have not told at this event in the past, which is that when I was graduated from high school, I received a scholarship in the name of someone named Collefson. It was the Collefson Scholarship. It was for $250, which I don't know what that is in today's thing, but it's not that much, but it was significant for me at the time. And I went to my principal after I received the award, and I asked the principal if I could either meet Mr. Collefson or the Collefson family, or at least communicate somehow, because I was so grateful to the Collefson family. And I was told that that was not the donor's intent, and that I could write a letter and give it to the principal, who would send it to Mr. Collefson, but that was it. And I have to tell you, it was heartbreaking to me to not be able to thank personally the person who had donated some support for me. That's one of the reasons why this event is always so phenomenal. I was telling some of the people downstairs that this event is always so beautiful to me, because it unites scholarship donors and recipients, and that's something that I was never able to do with Mr. Collefson when I received that scholarship in high school. So first, I would like to say, for all the people who organized this event from our development and alumni relations team, thank you very much for doing this. It's really hard to follow Shirley and Alina, and very hard to follow the dean, and very hard to follow Peter Bayev. But I'm going to just talk a little bit about something that happened today. A fourth-year student came to talk to me today, which I always love. And he came to talk to me about something that I think will be relevant to every one of you out there who is a physician who's been practicing for your career. Hopefully very relevant to you if you're a medical student, and even if you've been a patient, I hope very relevant to you. What he said was, in his internship and residency and career, he was going to be exposed to a lot of hardship, patient hardship. And that worried him, because he is somebody who's very caring. And he wondered how he was going to cope, how he was going to manage when he would interact with these people who were experiencing such severe medical, societal, and other hardships. He asked me, how will I be able to stay healthy emotionally? He told me that he had been told by many people over the years that a person like him should develop thick skin. So we spoke about that at length. I'm happy to share with you what I told him, but I wasn't my plan here. I just want to explain that for me, what he was talking about was his empathy and compassion for other human beings. It's the qualities that we want to have our medical students and, of course, all of our physicians express. But interestingly, he didn't call it compassion, and he didn't call it empathy. He called it generosity. And as soon as he called it generosity, I thought, thank you for writing my speech. I'm serious. I asked him about that term, generosity, because it's one that I had not heard in the context of talking about empathy, or what I would call empathy and compassion. And he told me that he felt that he was giving of himself when he interacted with patients. And that made me wonder, you know, what really is generosity, which is really what we're here to talk about tonight. And then it made me wonder further, are all of you who've given resources to support our students, all of you who've been so generous, are all of you generous in the way that this student is using the term generosity? I think the answer is yes, and that's what I want to leave you with. Based on the many, many scholarship donors that I've had the amazing pleasure, privilege, and honor of meeting over the 12 years that I've been Vice Dean, I'm pretty confident that the answer is yes. Mother Teresa said, "It's not how much we give, but how much love we put into giving." It's a really beautiful quote, I think. And I think that all of you who give money to support our students, I think based on speaking with you, interacting with you over the years, I think you love our students. I don't think it's just money. I think you love our students. I think you love our school. I think you love the future of medicine and what you can contribute to that future. I think it is about love. And that's why I think you are loving people, and I think you are generous in the way that this student used the term generosity. And I want to personally thank all of you for everything you've given our students, and frankly, everything that you've inspired me to do over the last 12 years. In closing, I also want to specifically call out the Baeff family and Peter Baeff, who, if you look up in Merriam-Webster's dictionary, generosity, you'll see a picture of Peter. It's there. He looks pretty good. Peter is generous in the way this student used the word generosity. Peter is loving. He loves students. He loves medicine. He loves Johns Hopkins. And if we could just all sort of dwell on that love, I think we'd all be much, much better people. That's actually the end of my remarks, but I have something very sort of pedestrian to share with you. Please stay in your seats until a server comes to your table to invite you to get up to the buffet. But I want to thank you personally, everyone here who has donated scholarship dollars for our students. Thank you.